Princess Zelnara stood by the large window of her father's warship. She watched the small human transport ship getting closer. Her long purple fingers traced the cold metal of the window frame. Today, her life would change forever. The marriage was not her choice. It was duty. Her father, the emperor of the Valthis Empire, needed this alliance with the humans. Earth had just joined the Galactic Confederation 2 years ago. The humans controlled important trade routes now, but more dangerous enemies wanted to control Earth too. The Korthak hegemony was already sending gifts to human leaders. If the Korthak got Earth's support, the Valthis Empire would be in trouble. "Princess, your future husband's ship is docking now," said General Thaxtor. The old Valthis warrior had served her family for 50 years. His 4 eyes showed concern. "Remember, this human is called Captain Marcus Chen. He commands a medium-sized warship in their colonial navy. The humans chose him because he has diplomatic experience." Zelnara nodded. She had studied the files about Captain Chen. Age 32 in human years, which was young for humans. He had served in several peace missions between human colonies. His record showed he was calm under pressure. The humans could have sent someone more important, but they wanted to show respect without seeming too eager. "What do you think of humans, General?" she asked. Thaxtor thought for a moment. "Strange creatures, Princess. They come from a dangerous planet, but they adapt quickly. Most species fear them or look down on them. They have been in space for less than 200 of their years. Very young compared to us." The princess had heard many stories about humans. Some said they were violent and unpredictable. Others said they were weak because they came from just one planet. She had seen videos of their world, Earth. It looked beautiful, but dangerous. Storms, earthquakes, wild animals that could kill. Most species would never choose to live there. A soft chime told her the human ship had connected to theirs. Soon, she would meet the man she was supposed to marry. She wore her finest dress, made from silver thread that sparkled like stars. Her mother's crown sat on her head. She wanted to look like a proper Valthis princess, even if this marriage was just politics. The main hall filled with important people from the Valthis court. Everyone wanted to see the human who would marry their princess. Many had never seen a human in person. They whispered among themselves, wondering what this strange alien would be like. The doors opened. Captain Marcus Chen walked into the room. He was shorter than most Valthis, but taller than she had expected. His skin was brown, darker than in his pictures. His black hair was cut short in military style. He wore a simple blue uniform with a few medals. Nothing fancy or showy. His dark eyes looked around the room with curiosity, not fear or amazement. Marcus walked to the center of the room where Princess Zelnara waited. The Valthis court watched in silence. This moment would decide how the humans and Valthis saw each other. He stopped the right distance away and bowed. Not too deep, not too shallow. Someone had taught him proper Valthis manners. "Your Highness," he said in good Valthis language, "I am honored to meet you." "Captain Chen," she replied in English. "Welcome to our ship." His face showed surprise and pleasure that she spoke his language. "Thank you, Princess. Your English is excellent." They sat down for the formal dinner. The Valthis court used this meal to test visitors. 7 different eating tools, each for different foods. Complex rules about when to speak and when to stay quiet. Many alien diplomats failed this test badly. Marcus watched carefully as the first course arrived. He saw which tool Princess Zelnara used and copied her. When she paused to speak, he waited. When she drank, he followed. He made small mistakes, but he learned fast. By the third course, he moved more smoothly. "Captain," said Lord Velthar, the Emperor's chief advisor, "tell us about your ship." "The Mumbai is a Yamato-class cruiser," Marcus answered. "We built it 5 years ago. It has good weapons and better engines. But honestly, it is not impressive compared to your ships. We humans are still learning." The honest answer surprised many at the table. Most aliens bragged about their technology. "What brings you joy in life, Captain?" Princess Zelnara asked. She expected him to talk about fighting or power. Marcus smiled. Learning new things. I like to understand how different species think and live. On Earth, I collected music from many cultures. Here, I want to learn about Vialthus art and philosophy. This was not what she expected. Most marriage alliance partners talked about trade deals or military cooperation. They discussed politics and power. Marcus seemed truly interested in her people's culture. Do you play music? She asked. A little. Guitar and piano. I brought my guitar, actually. I hope that was okay. Lord Velthar laughed. A warrior who plays music. How very human. Aye, Lord. The dinner continued. Marcus asked questions about Vialthus' history and traditions. He listened carefully to the answers. When someone mentioned their ancient poetry, his eyes lit up with interest. When they talked about their flying competitions, he wanted to know how the ships worked. After dinner, Princess Zelnara walked with Marcus through the ship's gardens. They spoke more privately now. This marriage, she said carefully. We both know it is for politics. I do not expect romance or love, but I hope we can be friends and partners. Marcus nodded. I understand completely, Princess. My government made it clear this alliance is bigger than us, but I want you to know, I will try to be a good husband in whatever way works for you, and I promise to always respect you. She studied his face. In Valthus culture, people often said one thing while meaning another. But humans seemed more direct. His words felt honest. You are different than I expected, she admitted. Different how? Most aliens who want to marry into our family come with big demands. They want to show their power. You seem more interested in understanding than controlling. Marcus smiled. Maybe that is because humans know we are still new to all this. We have a lot to learn from older civilizations like yours. Besides, I read about Vialthus culture. Your people value wisdom and honor. I want to earn both. As they walked back toward her quarters, Princess Zelnara felt something unexpected. Maybe this marriage would not be as difficult as she feared. Captain Marcus Chen was certainly different from other aliens she had met. Whether that was good or bad, only time would tell. 3 weeks had passed since Captain Marcus Chen arrived on the Valthus flagship. Princess Zelnara watched him every day, trying to understand this strange human who would become her husband. Marcus did things differently than other aliens. Each morning, he exercised in the ship's training area, but instead of just lifting weights or running, he practiced something called martial arts. His body moved like water, flowing from one position to another. When she asked about it, he said humans developed many fighting styles because they had to protect themselves on their dangerous planet. Would you like to learn? He asked one day after finishing his practice. She was surprised by the offer. Valthus do not usually fight with their hands. It is not just fighting, Marcus explained. It helps with balance and thinking clearly. My teacher said it makes the body and mind work together. Princess Zelnara tried a few basic moves. Marcus was patient, showing her how to stand and breathe properly. His hands guided her arms into the right positions. For the first time, she noticed how warm human skin felt compared to Valthus skin. What impressed her most was how quickly Marcus learned Vialthus customs. Lord Velthar invited him to a traditional hunt. This was a test. The hunt required flying small ships through dangerous asteroid fields to chase swift prey animals. Most aliens needed years to learn the skills. I have never done anything like this, Marcus told the hunting party honestly. Please, teach me. The first day, he watched carefully. He asked many questions about ship controls, wind patterns, and animal behavior. The Valthus hunters laughed when he crashed his practice ship into asteroids, but Marcus laughed too, picking himself up each time. By the second day, he followed the hunting group without crashing. His flying was clumsy, but he stayed with them. On the third day, something amazing happened. Marcus caught one of the swift prey animals using a technique no one had seen before. How did you do that? Asked Commander Zexhai, the best hunter in the group. Marcus looked embarrassed. I noticed the animals always turn left when scared, so I flew to where I thought it would go. Not where it was. The Vilethus hunters stared at him. This kind of thinking usually took years to develop. Yet the human had figured it out in 3 days. Princess Zelnara began visiting Marcus's quarters more often. His rooms looked completely different from any other diplomat's quarters she had seen. Instead of expensive art or weapons, Marcus filled his space with books, tools, and half-finished projects. "What is this?" she asked, pointing to a partly built device on his desk. "I am trying to understand how your gravity generators work," Marcus said. "On human ships, we use spinning sections to create fake gravity. Your technology is much more advanced. I thought if I could build a small version, I might understand the principles." She picked up one of his books. The title was Vilethus Poetry, A Beginner's Guide. Another book was about Korthak military history. A third discussed trade routes through the galaxy. "You read about many topics," she observed. Marcus nodded. "Humans are curious. We like to learn new things, even if we do not need them immediately. My grandmother always said, 'Knowledge weighs nothing, but helps with everything.'" The princess found a musical instrument she did not recognize. "Is this your guitar?" "Yes. Would you like to hear something?" Marcus played a soft melody. The music was different from Vilethus songs. Simpler but somehow more emotional. The notes seemed to tell a story without words. "Beautiful," she said when he finished. "Very different from our music. Every human culture makes music differently," Marcus explained. "This song comes from my grandfather's homeland. He taught it to my father, who taught it to me. Humans pass down stories and feelings through songs." A crisis interrupted their growing friendship. The Gentarim Collective, a proud and difficult species, wanted to negotiate new trade agreements. The Gentarim looked down on most other species. They considered themselves the smartest beings in the galaxy. Their negotiations always ended in insults and failed deals. The Vilethus Council expected another failure. The Zentarim representative, Ambassador Krell Nock, had already offended 2 different species that week. He called the Altarians simple-minded farmers, and the Rigelians backwards cave-dwellers. "We should cancel the meeting," suggested General Thaxtor. "The Gentarim will just waste our time." But Marcus asked to speak with the council. "May I try to negotiate with them?" Lord Velthar shook his head. "Captain Chen, with respect, the Gentarim have studied negotiation for centuries. They will see you as a primitive human and treat you badly. Maybe that will help," Marcus said. "If they think I am too simple to trick them, they might be more honest about what they really want." Princess Zelnara watched the meeting from the observation room. Ambassador Krellnock was tall and thin, with gray skin and sharp features. His 3 eyes looked at Marcus with obvious contempt. "So," Krellnock said in a mocking voice, "the mighty Vilethus send a baby human to negotiate with us." "How insulting." Marcus smiled calmly. "Ambassador, you are absolutely right. I am new to galactic politics. I probably do not understand many important things. Could you help me understand what the Gentarim need most from this trade agreement?" Krellnock paused, surprised by the honest answer. Most diplomats would have gotten angry or defensive. "We need rare metals for our technology," Krellnock said slowly. "And in return, we offer advanced computer systems." Marcus nodded. "That sounds fair. But I notice from your ship's design that your people value efficiency above all. Your computers must be very efficient too. Could they help Vilethus ships use less energy?" For the next 2 hours, Marcus listened more than he talked. He asked simple questions that made Krellnock explain Gentarim technology in detail. The ambassador, proud of his people's achievements, began sharing information he had not planned to reveal. By the end of the meeting, Marcus had negotiated not just the metal trade, but also technology exchanges that no one had expected. The Zentarim would share computer designs. The Vilethus would share gravity technology. And surprisingly, the Zentarim wanted to buy human music and art. "Your species interests us," Krellnock told Marcus as he prepared to leave. "Most aliens either fear us or try to impress us. You simply tried to understand us. Very unusual." After the Gentarim left, the Vialthis Council stared at Marcus in amazement. "How did you do that?" asked Lord Velthar. Marcus looked confused by their surprise. "I just listened to what he wanted, and found ways we could all benefit. Humans call it win-win thinking. Everyone gets something good, so everyone is happy." That night, Princess Zelnara sat with Marcus in the gardens again. She was beginning to see that humans were not like other species. They did not seem to think about power the same way. "Marcus," she said, "why do you work so hard to understand everyone? Most aliens focus on getting advantages over others." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "On Earth, we have a saying: seek first to understand, then to be understood. My species had many wars because groups did not try to understand each other. We learned that cooperation works better than fighting. Is that why you study our poetry and music? Partly, but also because I want to understand you, Zelnara. Not just as a political partner, but as a person. You are intelligent and kind. You care about your people's welfare more than your own comfort. I respect that." The princess felt warmth spread through her chest. No one had ever spoken about her personal qualities before. Other suitors always talked about her beauty or her father's power. "You see things differently than I expected," she admitted. Marcus smiled. "Good, different, or bad different?" She considered the question seriously. "I am not sure yet. But interesting, different." As they walked back toward their quarters, Princess Zelnara realized something had changed. What began as duty was becoming something more complex. She still did not know if she could love this human, but she was starting to genuinely like him. And in the world of political marriages, that was more than she had dared to hope for. The alarms woke everyone on the ship. Princess Zelnara ran from her quarters toward the command center. Red lights flashed in the hallways. Crew members rushed past her, their faces showing fear she had never seen before. In the command center, her father, Emperor Malthus, stood before the main screen with his military leaders. The screen showed something that made Zelnara's blood turn cold. Hundreds of dark ships filled the space near their home system. The ships were massive, built for war, with sharp edges and heavy weapons. "Korthak Hegemony Fleet," General Thaxtor reported. 200 battleships, plus support vessels. They are demanding our immediate surrender. The Korthak were the most feared military force in the galaxy. For 300 years, they had conquered system after system. No species had ever successfully defended against their first attack. They studied their enemies for years before striking, learning every weakness and strategy. "How long before they reach our homeworld?" the Emperor asked. 6 hours, Your Majesty." Emperor Malthus looked older than Zelnara had ever seen him. "Begin evacuation procedures. Move the government to the outer colonies. We will resist from there." This was standard procedure when facing the Korthak. No one fought them directly and won. The only choice was to run, hide, and hope to survive long enough for help to arrive. Marcus entered the command center quietly. He had been listening to the reports from his quarters. Princess Zelnara noticed him watching the enemy fleet display with intense concentration. "Captain Chen," the Emperor said tiredly, "I suggest you contact your government immediately. When the Korthak finish with us, they will likely target Earth next. Your people should prepare." But Marcus did not move toward the communication station. Instead, he stepped closer to the tactical display showing the Korthak ships. "Your Majesty, may I ask a question?" Emperor Malthus nodded, though he looked impatient. "How many times have the Korthak been defeated in major battles?" "Never," General Thaxtor answered. "That is why we must evacuate. How many species have tried to fight them using unusual tactics?" The general frowned. "What do you mean?" Marcus pointed to the display. "Every report I have read shows the Korthak studying their enemies for years before attacking. They learn how each species fights, then develop perfect counter-strategies. But what if they faced an enemy that fought in ways they had never studied?" Lord Velthar shook his head. "Captain, the Korthak have conquered 47 different species. They have seen every possible military strategy. Have they seen human strategies?" Marcus asked quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the young human captain. Humans have been in space for less than 2 centuries, General Thaxtor said. What could you possibly know about warfare that we do not? Marcus activated his personal datapad and connected it to the main display. Information filled the screen. Battle reports, tactical analyses, historical studies. But these were not galactic military records. These were human military histories from Earth. On my planet, we had thousands of years of warfare before we reached space, Marcus explained. Every continent, every culture developed different ways of fighting. Some focused on honor and direct combat. Others used deception and surprise. Some preferred large armies. Others used small, fast groups. The display showed battle formations, tactical diagrams, and strategic concepts. Names appeared that meant nothing to the Veilthus: Hannibal, Sun Tzu, Napoleon, Patton, Khalid ibn al-Walid, Subutai. The Korthak study their enemies to predict their behavior, Marcus continued. But humans do not have one military tradition. We have hundreds. And when those do not work, we create new ones during the battle. Princess Zelnara watched her father's face. The Emperor was listening carefully now. What are you suggesting, Captain? He asked. Fight them. But not like Valthis. Fight like humans. General Thaxtor stood up angrily. This is madness. We would be destroyed. But Marcus remained calm. General, may I show you something? The screen changed to display Korthak battle records. Marcus had clearly studied them extensively during the past weeks. Look at the pattern, he said. Every species the Korthak conquered fought according to their cultural traditions. The Rigelians used coordinated fleet formations because they value order and discipline. The Altarians fought defensively because they hate taking risks. The hegemony predicted these behaviors and planned accordingly. Marcus highlighted several battles. But notice what happened in the few cases where their enemies did something unexpected. Here, when the Vegan Republic accidentally split their fleet during a retreat, the Korthak took 4 hours to adjust their strategy. Here, when equipment failure forced the Centauri to change their communication methods, the Korthak made tactical errors. 4 hours is not enough time to matter, General Thaxtor protested. It is if you use those 4 hours correctly, Marcus replied. Humans have a saying. No plan survives contact with the enemy. We expect our strategies to fail, so we prepare to improvise. Emperor Malthus studied the data carefully. Captain Chen, you are asking us to risk everything on untested tactics from a species that has never fought a real space war. Your Majesty, with respect, the current plan is to run away and hope the Korthak get bored. How is that better? Princess Zelnara felt her heart racing. Marcus was challenging the entire military command, suggesting they fight the most powerful force in the galaxy using theories from a planet most species considered primitive. But as she looked at the Korthak fleet display, she realized something important. They were already doomed if they followed standard procedures. The Korthak would hunt them down eventually. At least Marcus offered a chance, however small, to actually win. Father, she said quietly, perhaps we should listen to what Captain Chen proposes. Marcus activated another display. This one showed fleet formations, but they looked nothing like traditional Valthis tactics. Ships were arranged in seemingly random patterns, attack vectors curved in unpredictable ways. Support vessels were mixed with battleships instead of staying safely behind. This looks like chaos, General Thaxtor said. Exactly, Marcus replied. Controlled chaos. The Korthak computers will try to find the pattern, but there is no single pattern to find. Each ship group uses different tactics. When they adapt to one group, another group does something completely different. How do we coordinate such confusion? Asked Admiral Kethvar. Human commanders train to work independently while supporting the overall goal, Marcus explained. We call it mission command. You tell each captain what you want accomplished, not how to accomplish it. Then you let them figure out the best method for their situation. The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Captain Chen, if we try your approach and fail, we all die. If we evacuate, and the Korthak pursue us, we die slowly instead of quickly. You are asking me to gamble millions of lives on human military theories. Marcus nodded seriously. Yes, Your Majesty. I am. But I am also asking to share that gamble with you. Human ships are already on their way here. We received the distress call too. If we fight together, at least we fight with hope instead of fear. Princess Zelnara watched the faces around the room. These were experienced military leaders who had served the Empire for decades. They were being asked to trust strategies from an alien species that most of them still considered young and inexperienced. But the alternative was surrender or slow defeat. And she had seen Marcus work before. In 3 weeks, he had learned Vaelthis customs, mastered their hunting techniques, and negotiated impossible deals with the Gentarim. Maybe, just maybe, he could do the impossible again. General Thax Tor, the Emperor said finally, prepare the fleet for battle. We will coordinate with the human forces when they arrive. Captain Chen, you will serve as strategic advisor. As the command center burst into activity, Princess Zelnara caught Marcus's arm. Are you certain about this? Marcus looked at her honestly. No. I have never commanded a real space battle. But I am certain about this. Running away guarantees defeat. Fighting gives us a chance to win. Outside the ship, the Korthak fleet moved closer to Vaelthis space, confident in their coming victory. They had studied Vaelthis tactics for years. They knew exactly how this battle would proceed. They had no idea they were about to face an enemy that did not follow any rules they understood. The human fleet arrived just as the Korthak ships entered Vaelthis space. Princess Zelnara watched from the command bridge as 27 human vessels joined their defensive formation. The human ships looked small and rough compared to elegant Vaelthis cruisers, but they moved with purpose. Human fleet commander requesting communication, reported the communications officer. The screen flickered and showed a woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. Her uniform was practical, not decorative like most alien military dress. Admiral Sarah Kim, Terran Colonial Fleet. She introduced herself. Captain Chen, I got your message about new tactical approaches. Command authorized me to follow your lead in this engagement. I hope you know what you are doing. Marcus nodded. Admiral, we are about to test whether human unpredictability works against Korthak. Tactical doctrine. Tactical doctrine. Understood. My ships are ready for whatever crazy plan you have developed. Princess Zelnara noticed how the humans spoke to each other. No formal ceremonies or long speeches about honor and duty. Just direct communication between professionals who trusted each other. The Korthak fleet formed up in their traditional attack pattern. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. Hundreds of dark ships moving like parts of a single machine. Their formation had broken every defense in galactic history. Korthak commander is sending a message, the communications officer announced. A Korthak appeared on screen. His species was tall and thin, with gray skin and sharp features. Everything about him suggested cold efficiency. I am War Commander Velthak, of the Korthak hegemony. Vaelthis Empire. You will surrender immediately. Your resistance is useless. We have studied your tactics for 3 years. We know how you will fight. You cannot win. Emperor Malthus stood to reply, but Marcus stepped forward. War Commander, I am Captain Marcus Chen, of the human vessel Mumbai. We have not surrendered. If you want to take our worlds, you will have to fight for them. The Korthak commander stared at Marcus with surprise. Humans? Your species joined the Confederation recently. You know nothing of real warfare. Stand aside and let the Vaelthis accept their defeat with dignity. Marcus smiled. War Commander, you studied Vaelthis tactics for 3 years. How long did you study human tactics? Kumana. We do not need to study primitives, the Korthak replied coldly. Your mistake, Marcus said, and cut the communication. The battle began immediately. The Korthak fleet charged forward in perfect formation, exactly as they had in 47 previous victories. Their tactics were flawless. Their coordination perfect. The human and Veilthus response was chaos. Ship groups scattered in different directions. Some charged directly at the enemy. Others curved around the flanks. A few seemed to retreat, then suddenly turned and attacked from unexpected angles. There was no pattern. No grand formation. Princess Zelnara watched Marcus coordinate the battle from multiple stations at once. He spoke rapidly into his communication device, switching between languages and using words she did not understand. Bravo group, remember Kenny. Let them come to you, then close the trap, he told one human squadron. Admiral Kim, time for some Normandy confusion. Hit them where they are not looking, he said to another. Captain Morrison, channel your inner Viking, get loud and make them think you are the main attack, he ordered a third group. The Veilthus commanders tried to follow these instructions, but they sounded like nonsense. General Thaxtor looked confused and worried. What does canny mean? He asked Marcus. Ancient Earth battle, Marcus replied quickly. Small force pretended to retreat. Enemy followed, got surrounded, and destroyed. Captain Zethnal is using his squadron as bait, while Admiral Kim's ships circle behind. The Korthak fleet began to change formation to respond to the scattered attacks. Their computers analyzed each human tactic, then adapted their strategy accordingly. But just as they adjusted to one approach, the humans switched to something completely different. Korthak are adapting to our flanking maneuvers, reported Admiral Kim. Copy that, Marcus replied. All ships, switch to Plan Delta. Time to show them some Mongol tactics. Princess Zelnara had no idea what Mongol tactics meant, but she watched human ships suddenly break off their attacks and scatter. For a moment, it looked like retreat. Then, they regrouped in a completely different formation and struck the Korthak from a new direction. How are they doing this? General Thaxtor demanded. How do they coordinate such chaos? Marcus paused his communications long enough to answer. Human military history, General. Every culture on Earth developed different ways of fighting. We study all of them. When one approach fails, we try another. When that fails, we combine different approaches or invent new ones. On the main screen, the battle looked like organized madness. Human ships darted between Korthak formations like insects, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. Veilthus vessels used their superior weapons to punch holes in enemy lines, then human ships poured through the gaps. But what amazed Princess Zelnara most was how Marcus managed multiple complex operations at the same time. While directing the space battle, he also coordinated evacuation of civilian populations from threatened planets. Human ships carried refugees while fighting, something military doctrine said was impossible. How are you doing this? She asked during a brief pause in the action. Humans are good at multitasking, Marcus replied. On Earth, we had to hunt for food, watch for predators, protect our children, and maintain our shelters all at the same time. Our brains learned to handle many problems at once. The Korthak began to show signs of confusion. Their perfect formations started to break apart as they tried to respond to attacks that followed no logical pattern. Their computers could not predict what the humans would do next because the humans kept changing their own plans. War Commander Velthak is requesting communication, the communications officer reported. The Korthak commander appeared on screen again. This time he looked frustrated and angry. Human, your tactics are dishonorable. You fight like wild animals with no discipline or strategy. Marcus nodded calmly. War Commander, you are correct. We do fight like animals. Earth taught us that survival matters more than honor. Discipline means nothing if you lose. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare. No, Marcus agreed. It is how humans conduct warfare. And it seems to be working. The battle continued for 6 more hours. The Korthak had superior numbers and better technology, but they could not adapt fast enough to counter human unpredictability. Every time their computers found a pattern in human behavior, the humans changed to a different pattern. Princess Zelnara watched Marcus work with growing amazement. He seemed to be 3 different people at once: a strategic commander directing fleet movements, a logistics coordinator managing refugee evacuations, and a tactical advisor helping individual captains solve specific problems. Captain Chen, Admiral Kim reported, Korthak fleet is beginning to withdraw to the edge of the system. Confirmed, said General Thaxtor, sounding shocked. Enemy ships are pulling back. For the first time in 300 years, a Korthak attack had been stopped. Not defeated completely. They still had more ships and could return, but they had been forced to retreat and reconsider their approach. War Commander Velthak appeared on screen one final time. His expression was a mixture of anger and something that might have been respect. Human Marcus Chen, he said formally. You have shown us tactics we have never encountered. The Korthak hegemony will study your methods and return prepared for them. Timena, War Commander, Marcus replied. By the time you figure out what we did today, we will be fighting in ways you have not imagined yet. That is what humans do. After the communication ended, the command center erupted in celebration. Vaelthus officers who had expected to die or flee were embracing each other. Admiral Kim was laughing with relief over the communication channel. Emperor Malthus approached Marcus with a serious expression. Captain Chen, you have accomplished something no military commander in the galaxy thought possible. You stopped a Korthak first assault. Marcus looked tired but satisfied. Your Majesty, we stopped this attack. But they will return with new strategies. We bought time, not permanent victory. Princess Zelnara realized something important had changed during the battle. The man she was supposed to marry for political reasons had just proven himself as a military genius. More than that, he had shown the galaxy that humans were not the primitive species most aliens believed them to be. Marcus, she said quietly as the celebrations continued around them. What you did today was remarkable. He looked at her seriously. Zelnara, what we did today was survive. Tomorrow, we need to prepare for the next battle. The Korthak will not underestimate us again. But as she watched him coordinate the aftermath of the battle, organizing medical aid, arranging repairs, planning defenses, Princess Zelnara knew that everything had changed. This human had exceeded every expectation she could have imagined. 2 weeks after the battle, Princess Zelnara found Marcus in his quarters, working late into the night. Data screens surrounded him, showing defensive plans, supply reports, and communication records from across the galaxy. He had barely slept since the Korthak retreated. You need rest, she said, bringing him a cup of tea from her personal collection. Marcus looked up and smiled tiredly. Thank you. I wanted to finish analyzing the battle data before the Galactic Council meeting tomorrow. The Council had called an emergency session to discuss what happened at Vaelthus. For the first time in galactic history, the Korthak hegemony had been forced to retreat from a first assault. Every species wanted to understand how it was possible. What did you learn from the data? She asked, sitting beside him. The Korthak are already adapting, Marcus replied. Intelligence reports show they are studying human military history now. They are trying to understand our tactics, so they can counter them next time. Princess Zelnara felt worried. Will they succeed? Marcus laughed quietly. They will learn to counter everything we did in this battle. But that does not matter. By the time they return, we will be fighting differently again. How can you be certain? Because that is what humans do, Zelnara. We never fight the same war twice. Every conflict teaches us new lessons. Every enemy forces us to become more creative. She studied his face in the soft light from the data screens. Over the past month, she had watched this human exceed every expectation she could have imagined. He had learned Vaelthus customs faster than diplomats with decades of experience. He had negotiated impossible deals with the proud Gentarim. And he had accomplished something no military genius in galactic history had managed. He had stopped the Korthak. Marcus, she said carefully. When we first met, I expected this marriage to be a political arrangement. Nothing more. He nodded. I understood that. Most royal marriages are about alliances, not personal feelings. But you have become something I did not expect. Marcus set down his datapad and gave her his full attention. What do you mean? A partner. Someone I can trust completely. Someone who… She paused, searching for the right words. Someone who makes me want to be better than I am. Something changed in Marcus's expression. The tired professional facade dropped away, revealing the man underneath. Zelnara, he said softly, I need to tell you something about this marriage. She felt her heart skip. What? When my government chose me for this alliance, they picked me because I was expendable. Mid-level officer, decent record, but not important enough to matter if things went wrong. They expected me to be polite, sign treaties, and stay out of the way. Princess Zelnara was surprised by this honesty. Most aliens tried to make themselves seem more important than they were. But being here with you, learning about your people, fighting alongside your military, this has become the most important thing I have ever done. Not because of politics, but because of you. Because of me? Marcus reached for her hands. You could have treated me like a useful stranger. Instead, you taught me about Valthis culture, listened to my ideas, trusted me when everyone else thought I was crazy. You saw something in humans that no other species had seen. You saw our potential instead of just our limitations. She felt warmth spreading through her chest. I saw what was already there, Marcus. I just paid attention. That is exactly what I mean, he said. Most species look at humans and see primitives from a dangerous planet. You looked at us and saw possibilities. A soft chime interrupted them. Princess, came General Thaxtor's voice over the communication system. The Galactic Council session is beginning. They made their way to the main conference chamber. Representatives from dozens of species filled the room, all wanting to hear about the human tactics that had stopped the Korthak. Princess Zelnara noticed how differently the other aliens looked at Marcus now. Before the battle, they had seen him as an unimportant human. Now they studied him with respect and curiosity. The session began with formal reports about the battle. General Thaxtor described the Korthak assault and the combined human-Vialthis defense. Admiral Kim explained human tactical flexibility and improvisation methods. But when Marcus was asked to speak, the room fell completely silent. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Marcus began. What happened at Valthis was not a miracle. It was the result of human military thinking applied to galactic warfare. But I want to make something clear. We did not win because humans are superior to other species. Some delegates looked confused by this statement. We won because humans approach problems differently. On Earth, we developed hundreds of different cultures, each with unique ways of solving challenges. When one approach fails, we try another. When traditional methods do not work, we create new ones. This flexibility comes from necessity, not superiority. Ambassador Krelnok of the Zhentarim stood up. Captain Chen, are you saying that human unpredictability can be taught to other species? Marcus smiled. I am saying that every species has unique strengths. Vialthis honor and engineering skills made our defense possible. Zhentarim intelligence gathering provided crucial information about Korthak movements. Human tactical flexibility was just one part of the victory. Princess Zelnara felt proud as she watched Marcus address the council. He could have claimed all the credit for the victory. Instead, he emphasized cooperation between species. What we learned, Marcus continued, is that the galaxy is stronger when species work together, sharing their different strengths rather than competing against each other. The Korthak have conquered so many worlds because they fight each species separately, using their individual weaknesses against them. Together, our combined strengths can overcome their advantages. After the session ended, delegates crowded around Marcus, asking questions about human military methods and requesting copies of historical battle studies. Princess Zelnara watched alien military officers taking notes, while Marcus explained concepts like mission command and adaptive tactics. And, later that evening, they walked together through the ship's gardens. News reports from across the galaxy showed the same pattern. Every species were forming new alliances, sharing technology and tactics, preparing for the next Korthak assault as united coalitions rather than isolated targets. You started something important today, Princess Zelnara told him. We started something, Marcus corrected. This alliance between humans and Valthus is the foundation for everything else. This, we have in BR. This, alliance. She stopped walking and turned to face him. Marcus, I need to tell you something. What? I love you. The words surprised her as much as they surprised him. She had not planned to say them, but watching him speak to the Galactic Council, seeing how he gave credit to others while accepting responsibility for difficult decisions, she realized her feelings had grown beyond respect and partnership. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Zelnara, are you certain? This started as a political marriage. You do not have to feel obligated to. She silenced him by placing her fingers on his lips. Marcus Chen, you exceeded every expectation I had about humans, about marriage partners, and about what was possible between two very different people. This is not obligation. This is choice. He pulled her close and kissed her gently. I love you too, Zelnara. More than I thought possible when I first arrived here. Above them, stars filled the space between Valthus and Earth. Two worlds that had entered an alliance for practical reasons were now connected by something deeper. And throughout the galaxy, other species were discovering that cooperation produced results no one could achieve alone. The marriage that had begun as duty had become the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. Princess Zelnara had expected to endure a political arrangement with a stranger. Instead, she had found a partner who challenged her to think differently about everything she believed possible. And the human who had been chosen because he was expendable had proven that sometimes the most unexpected people accomplish the most extraordinary things. 3 months later, Princess Zelnara and Captain Marcus Chen were married in a ceremony that combined Valthus and human traditions. Representatives from 47 species attended, including former enemies who were now allies. The wedding celebration lasted 3 days and featured music, food, and customs from dozens of different worlds. But for Zelnara, the most important moment came during their private exchange of vows, when Marcus promised to keep exceeding her expectations for the rest of their lives together. It was a promise she knew he would keep,